I was just talking about you.
Great to see you as well.
I guess I have to be a little more professional. We can't kick it like we kicked it at the owl
Oh, we got to
shop.
kick it. We got to kick it. Yes, we do.
So listen to everybody. The chief, we sat at owl shop one night, smoked some cigars and drinks. And what were we drinking? Scott, were you drinking scotch or whiskey or bourbon? What were we drinking?
Bourbon. We doing a little bourbon.
Bourbon. It was good.
It was
I
really.
love a man that can sit and drink with a woman and have good conversation. I enjoy that very much.
It was. It was my pleasure. I actually enjoyed it more than you did.
Oh, all right. Listen, you are retiring. This is your last week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you came on the force in 2000. You
Mm-hmm.
worked your way through the ranks.
Mm-hmm.
You were appointed chief in 2019, a graduate of the FBI National Academy, which I did not know, and you are certified by the FBI as a hostage negotiator and have a FEMA certifications from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. And you're not a newcomer to educational environments. You hold a master's in public administration from the University of New Haven, and you have a graduate certificate from the University of Virginia. I mean, you know all this. So listen, you are everything that we want police officers and police folks to have. You are the dream of policing. You are the future of policing. So why in God's name are you leaving the New Haven Police Department?
You know, it's I can tell you this, and I said it from I said this from I remember my ceremony, which I was very reluctant to do, but the reason I did it was because it was an opportunity for me to highlight what really matters, right? It's the people that get you here, the people around you, the people you work with, the people in the community. Babz, it's not about me. I spent 21 years doing policing, and I got into the job to save the world. And I realized that all I could do is make a difference one encounter at a time, one person at a time. And this is bigger than Tony Reyes, it's bigger than Babz, bigger than all of us, right? And so this is about changing a mindset, a culture. And I've done that for 21 years through my example, through my supervision, and most recently through my leadership. And it's time to pass the baton. And it's time to focus on family right now. I've spent my time in the fast lane, not just as a chief. I've been doing this for a very long time, and my entire time as a police officer and in policing, I've been in the fast lane. I've been in the trenches. I've been active, and so I have a 12-year-old son. It's time, but you're not losing a police chief. You're gaining an ambassador within the community. I'm going to stay in this community, and I want to stay involved, and I want to work on the issues that impact our community from within our community. Because to be honest with you, that's where we're supposed to do it. That's where it needs to change. That's where the sustainable, meaningful change needs to occur.
So how did you know a little Latino boy from where'd you grow up? In the hill? Did you grow up in the hill?
I grew
Because I
up in
know
the,
your
I grew up
mama.
in the hill. I grew
Because
up
I
in
know your parents. You have the best parents on the planet. Your mother is one of probably one of the best power brokers in the city.
my mother's a very nice lady. Yes, she is.
No, really, she is one of the power brokers in this city. Like you can't do nothing without running nothing by her.
Okay.
I know your dad. So listen, how does a little Latino boy like yourself? You grew up. You said you grew up in the hill. Where did you grow up?
In the hill. Yeah.
Well, how did you know you wanted to be a police officer? Because I don't think there was. I mean, I only know one other Latino police officer. That was Chief Ortiz. Like I don't know any other Latino police officer. So how did you know that you could do that, and but not seeing it readily in your face? How did you know you could do it?
Well, first thing I'll correct is many like Latino officers in the city. I'm proud to say, and many of them actually were mentors of mine. And so, and I was just actually speaking to one of the daughters of a Latino officer in this community who retired as an assistant chief, Chief Melendez. I'm not sure if you remember Ariel Melendez,
Mhm.
but he was definitely an icon in the department, in the community. And so I'm proud to follow in those footsteps. I didn't know I was going to be a cop. I got on. I was 27, 28 years old. And I had never thought about being a police officer. I'm not one of those, the first one in my immediate family. I have a cousin that's a cop in Puerto Rico, but other than that, we don't come from a family of cops. It wasn't in my DNA. It certainly wasn't in my in my dreams at all. But I always say policing found me, Babz. I sought an opportunity. I was at a particular point in my life, and I said, you know what, this might be a good path for me. And I saw it as a path to go to law school, actually, to be honest with you. And then from day one, I knew it was what I wanted to do. So
And so you just had a sense that criminal justice, or somewhere in the criminal justice world, is where you could change the world. Is that your thinking,
yeah,
or you were just like,
I was always a community minded person. I started off when I was in high school. I started working at Columbus House, right, and I kept going through. I kept working at Columbus House through college, and then I worked at Grand Street Partnership. I'm not sure if you know Grand Street Partnership, but it's
I do. It was
okay.
one of the early programs around.
I was there. I was there with Johnny Martinez, you know, and so I worked there, and so I've always been, and I think that's how it was easy for me to segue. I became also an EMT, and so I started actually collaborating with cops and with people in public service, and that's what opened the door for me for sure.
Wow. Okay. So when you get the call, so we're gonna so you've served under a bunch of
Chief,
um, chiefs who, some stayed a hot minute, some made lasting change, some perhaps were not a good fit for this city. What do you think makes a good fit for this city? What sort of a chief? What do you have to have to be chief material in this town?
you know, I think. Like I said before, I think someone that understands that, you know, it's not about them, right? And someone that is willing to, you know, you got to broker not just the issues within the community. You got to be able to broker within the police department, right? And you're going to make change. You got to make cultural change, and in order to do that, you have to have legitimacy within the police department. And so I think that's been the challenge. That's certainly the challenge, and for any leader has been. And you know, listen, I had to lead during probably one of the most difficult and historic times in our community's history, let alone our policing history, was 2020, right? And a time of social unrest and a call for change. And how do you broker that? How do you manage that from within? How do you keep officers still, engaged, focused, and connected with a community that's at the moment very emotionally expressing frustration, anger, everything, right? And a need for change. And so I think a chief needs to be able. So I would say a chief needs to be able to have that balance to understand what their role not just within the community, but within the police department. Because you can't broker change. You can't bring two groups together without having legitimacy in both.
So Chief, did you understand what the protesting was about? Did you understand Black Lives Matter and whoever else was aligned with them? And do you fully understand when people say defund the police, that it's not, we don't want police officers, but that we absolutely want something different on our streets, and for and a different relationship with our people and the police? I mean, do you understand that from a very real place of understanding, and not just a reactionary place of what do you mean defund the police? I mean, do you fundamentally understand that?
Oh, I do. I do at the core. Before I was a cop, Babz, I was a kid in the hood. I was a kid in the community. Before I was a cop, I experienced the things that my community experiences, and this is all about lived experiences. Every encounter we deal with is about, but it's not about that moment. It's about that moment in relation to whatever we all bring to the table. And what we've all lived and experienced. And I often tell that to my cops: when you're dealing with someone and they have a visceral response to you, even walking through the door, understand that that's not about that moment. It's not about you. It's about what you represent, right? It's about what the historic aspect of what you represent. But more importantly, it's about whatever that person has been through, whatever that person's family has been through, whatever they've experienced, right? The way they see you, the way they see what you represent, and maybe what they've experienced at the hands of somebody that looks like you and has worn that uniform, right? And so when you understand that, you stop taking it personal. You understand that at that moment, it's an opportunity for you to change perception, for you to engage, and for you to have that lived experience be altered in a positive way, potentially, however slightly, through that positive engagement, right? And so, but of course I understand it. But you know what? It's not enough for me to understand it. It's not enough for me to understand it. How do I get the officer walking on the beat, right? That's out there. I'm not out there. You know, I've done my time. I'm almost 50 years old. I've been around the block. I have the benefit of life experience. I have a benefit of learning from mistakes. I have a benefit of understanding all these dynamics from a philosophical, from lived experience, all that good stuff. It's not good enough. How do I get that young officer? How do I get that young officer to understand it? Because they're the face of the department, right? Mm-hmm. They're the ones that make or break community policing. They're the ones that make or break the relationship in our communities. It's not me. It's not me. So the trick is not getting a chief that understands it. It's getting a chief that can get an officer, can change a culture, can get an officer to buy into it. And that's hard. That's a much more difficult proposition. And you're not talking about a 20-person department. You're talking about a large department, relatively speaking, with and everybody brings what they bring to the table, right? Everybody brings their own baggage. Everybody brings their own preconceived notions. Everybody brings everything they bring. And so how do you get people to understand that? Especially during an emotionally charged, where it's everybody tends to retreat to corners and everybody becomes defensive, right? And so how do you get people to come out of that? How do you get people to put their hands down and go, oh, don't be defensive, understand what's behind this? And so, of course I understand it. And you know what? I'm more proud to say that my for the most part, and again, exceptions aside, because we're a larger department. My people understand it. This department understands it. And I've seen it. I've had conversations on a personal level with officers. I've seen them engage throughout the most difficult time, and still be true to their character, and to the character and the morals and the values of the department. So I think we're moving the needle. I really do. I think the positive part about last year on a national level is that we saw things we never saw before. I went to my department right after George Floyd, and I said, guys, we need to get out there and we need to stand up for this. And I said, I'm going to go out there with the chiefs. Now I'm going to be there on Sunday. You guys come if you want. I didn't order them. And you know what? More than a third of the department was there. Some on their off time, willing to say, hey, listen, as cops, we stand up against injustice and police brutality. But we saw that around the country. Mm-hmm. So, I wanted to focus on that, and again, we can't ignore the cries for change, and we can't ignore what people are saying. But I was looking to say, hey, listen, we're onto something here. When would you see that before?
So as a chief, is it, and as a chief that has come up through the ranks, and I would imagine, because I've served as a police commissioner back in the days under Mel Waring, and then finally under Chief Ortiz, I would imagine that the blue wall is a real thing, and that police officers feel a little pushed up against, us them kind of mentality. But I can't imagine that police officers see some of these images of police officers doing a job in ways that brings embarrassment, shame, and fear to this job. That's the image that they want. It's like, that can't be the image. I know some fine cops. So I mean, I have,
of course, not
police people in my family.
No.
So how do you as a chief work through that, being a police officer and knowing what you know, and also being of the community and knowing what you know, and being highly educated and knowing what you know? How do you bring all those three things together to move an agenda of, I don't know, community policing to reality?
So you got to broker conversations. So just think about it. Whenever and we talk about negotiations, right? And when we talk about mediation, because that's what we're dealing with here, right? We're dealing with competing factions or competing perceptions about policing, right? Because if you're a person that's carrying the uniform and you signed up and you're an honorable person and you go out there every day and you feel the way you feel, it's just going to be a natural response to be defensive about an attack on on what you believe, right? The profession stands for. And unfortunately for us, Babz, it's not you and I driving the conversation, right? What's driving the conversation are the extremes right now. Whether you look at the QAnon folks, or whether you look at the radical people that want to abolish the police, that's what gets the most attention, right? The conversations that we're having are actually the way most people feel. They want fundamental change. They want accountability. And that includes people on both sides. Cops want it. Cops don't want to tolerate this. This taints what they stand for. Trust me when I tell you. There's a saying within our ranks that nobody hates a bad cop more than a good cop, right? And so we all hate that. But what the officers are responding are not to the call for change, right? And they're responding to the attack on the profession, right? By these outliers, by the extreme this extreme call for defund the police and this attack on the nobility of the profession. And some of the argument is it's the foundation of the policing is wrought, with corruption, and it's this and it's, well, no, it's not. The foundation of policing is Sir Robert Peel back in the 1820s. And if you look at the Peelian principles, they're all what you and I talk about, where we're looking for policing to be. That's the way it was founded. It was founded on policing of the community, and the community is the police, that our legitimacy comes from our community's willingness to give us the authority, to see us as a viable, right, authority. And so our power comes from the community. And so those are the principles. We lost our way, but we didn't lose our way because cops lost our way. We're an extension of government. We're an extension of government. We are a microcosm of the wrongs of this society. When you look at the Jim Crow eras, yeah, it was the cop putting the handcuffs, but who were establishing the laws? It was government. These were politicians on the highest levels supporting laws that were hurting our communities and people of color, particularly Black folks. So, and the police were enforcing that. Now, was it wrong? Absolutely. We lost our way. We lost what we stood for. However, we are misguiding the attention. And so it's important that we have a conversation about policing and fundamentally changing policing. However, we can't let that detract from the bigger conversation. I've been in New Haven for now 49 years. And New Haven is a much safer city. Babz, you've been around for a long time. This is a much safer city than what it used to be.
I know.
You couldn't walk on Congress Avenue. I walked the streets on Washington and West. You couldn't walk by there. You couldn't walk by Winchester Avenue. Cops couldn't even go to Brookside. Cars would get flipped over, burned. Are we kidding? But you know what hasn't changed? We're still dealing with systemic poverty. We're still dealing with the same things that are causing these shootings. And we're still looking to use the police as the panacea and blaming that. So my thing is, let's talk about policing. Let's make sure we have just officers and accountability, but let's not use that as a ruse to forget the underlying issue here. And it's that we have to invest in our communities and do the things we need to do to get our community out of this. How do we stop shootings? I love that question. How do we make our city safer? Well, for God's sakes, I mean, we know what's going on. And so we continue to use a utility person, right, which is the cops, to solve the problem. That's not the way it is. We have a job to do. We have to keep our city safe. Yes, we do. But until we address the underlying root causes, we're just spinning our wheels and we're deflecting the issue. So it's tough. And again, I know I went on a tangent, but
this is why I do this show.
Yeah, we got to bring people together, Babz, and we got to drive the conversation. Like the community folks, the people that have a vested interest, the people that were driving the conversation last year were people that don't even live in New Haven. We were trying to solve the problems of Minnesota. You know, that's what we were doing. And so, yeah, we got problems, but let's solve our problems. And we've come a long way. We have engagement. We have relationships. We could actually be a beacon of hope for other. We can actually figure this out. That was my kickback with our legislatures, which I tremendously respect. I mean, listen, we got something done that was historic to have an accountability bill. I have a lot of respect for that. But
I
I
was going
think,
to ask you
yeah,
because, you know, a lot of what you do, what a lot of the chief's responsibility is maneuvering politics. And New
mhm,
Haven is a very political town.
yes, it is.
And you know, you just cannot operate at thinking you cannot be successful here if you think that you can get around it.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about your feelings on that. I mean, you come by politics honestly. I mean, your parents, you know who they are, your father, your mother. So you're not a stranger to politics. You're not a stranger to the ins and outs of what needs to happen. You've served under, now you're under a different mayor,
Mhm.
and what that looks like. So talk a little bit about how do you maneuver these political waters and still sort of run a full-on police department
Yeah, not easily. It's tough, right? Because
and fight for every nickel and dime that you need.
it's tough. It's tough, and I think for someone like myself, it's been particularly difficult. I think it just comes down to reminding ourselves why we're doing what we do, right?
Mhm.
And reminding people at the core why they became why we took on the positions, whether you're the mayor, whether you're an alder, whether you're a state rep, as an elected official, or whether you run a department within the city, right? We're all serving our communities. We all did this when we all started. We had a lofty sort of dream, right, to make things better. At least I hope we did. And if we didn't, then maybe that's what we need to question. So if we, assuming we all did, then we need to get back to that. And we need to remind ourselves that it's not about us. It's not about what we attain. It's not about our role. It's not about moving up. It's about fundamentally helping our community and what our role is to do that. And the way we do it here, and the way we could the success you're going to have is coming together. We got to come together. I got to come together with my community folks, and because it's not about me. I got to come together with my political elected officials, and we got to do it for the betterment of the community. So it's just about bringing it together, putting our egos down, and constantly reminding ourselves what the big picture here, which is doing right by the people that have entrusted us.
So as you're taking your last lap, have you had time to really reflect? Have you as you're going out the door, are you thinking, man, there were some things I wished I could have done, or man, I got that really wrong, or damn, I'm really proud of what we did in this particular thing. Have you had, or does
Yeah.
reflection come later?
You know, um, it was coming slowly. I mean, I didn't make a decision to leave until December, and I haven't really had time to wrap my brain around it, right? And it wasn't something where I expected to do that. And I made, was something I sat down with the family and decided to do. But recently, it's, how they say, your life flashes before your eyes well, this is a big change. And yeah, especially this week, Babz, I've been really thinking about it. And I've been really thinking about it, and it's all mostly attributed to people. Really, it's not just even about what did I do? What did I get a chance to do? I got to be honest with you, I'm very blessed. I'm a kid that was born and raised in Tertiary South. I got a chance to be a chief in my city. Are you kidding me? I mean, but more importantly, I got a chance to be a cop in my city, walk the beat, engage with people, help people. And it wasn't about these last couple of years of being a chief. Actually, what I've been thinking more about is all those incidents, those encounters, those things that I did throughout my career. Um, and Yeah, listen, overall, I feel so good, and I feel proud of my career, but more importantly, I feel humbled and honored that I got a chance to do it. And actually, I could think about it and talk about it and actually get choked up because it really means that much to me. And then the people I got to work with. And what I want to remind people, just kind of circling back to what you said, is that we can't lose our humanity. And we get so wrapped up with issues that if we're not careful, we lose our humanity, and we lose that most important human perspective. I tell cops all the time, you come on this job and our families are constantly worried about us losing our life. It's such a dangerous job, right? And we're so focused on that when we walk in. And I can assure you, being someone that's almost 22 years in this job, walking out, I tell people constantly, be much more concerned about the prospect of losing your soul on this job than losing your life, right? Because if you're not careful, that's exactly what will happen. Because you're dealing with extremes all the time. You're dealing with the negatives. You're dealing with people at very difficult moments. You're just, it's in it, and you're dealing with that, right, on a roller coaster. And then you're dealing with your own, right, your own demons and your own. I mean, it is a job that, if you're not careful, will strip you of your soul. So if you're able to walk out of here and with a semblance of your soul and still looking at the world in a positive way, then that's success. And so to that extent, I've been very successful, not because I became a chief, but because I got to do this job and I walked out of here still believing in people, still caring about people, still believing in our humanity. And so that's, I think that's what I'm proudest of.
So you're gonna jump over to the burbs, if you will. You're going over to Quinnipiac, and you're gonna head up there. What is it? What's the title? What's the department? Security and
It's public safety.
public safety
Public safety, yeah.
in a academic setting.
Yes.
And so what about this new gig that made you say, you know what, why don't we try this on?
Well, let me tell you first of all how I got the bug for academia, which is, again, not something. It's interesting. A couple of years ago, I decided to start doing some adjunct work over at UNH, and so I started teaching, classes on criminal justice, but primarily, obviously, criminal justice, and got a chance to work with young folks and delve into issues affecting our society through the lens of policing, right? And all the dynamics of policing in our society and all that stuff. And wow, I mean, when I tell you I caught the bug, I mean, and I realize that for 21 years, my job has been a calling for me. I really believe in that. I got a chance to be impacted by a lot of people, and I like to believe that I've made a lot of impacts on people. So, but now as a chief, I'm an administrator, right? Now I got a chance to work with these young folks. And especially last year, I taught a class during 2020 about policing in society. We would need another few more shows to really talk to you about what happened in that class. I mean, wow, had some dynamic people that were the type of people that you would want to see wearing a badge, right? And representing policing in the future. And being able to engage with them and talk to them about how they feel about policing now as they see what's going on. Many of them were getting derailed. Many of them were questioning the passion and their chosen path, right? I got a chance to have an impact on that. And I got a chance I just had an interview with one of my students who is actually thinking about her next career path and wanted to interview me about some things she was doing. And she told me, she goes, had it not been for your class, had it not been for our engagement, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. They all said, I have a renewed passion for being part of the change in policing, being part of the future in policing. So I realize that that's what I need to do. If I'm going to change this profession, I have a lot more impact on the future right now as my ability to do that through teaching. So it's a way. I'm hoping to go to Quinnipiac and not just be their head of public safety, but my goal is to teach over there, and my goal is to continue teaching at UNH, because I think that that's what I need to do right now. I need to try to impact the future of our profession through these young folks, and the mind of these young folks, because that's the future. That's
my next question, because I mean, you have everything that we believe we want a police officer to have. You're well educated, you're well read, you're community focused, and you have a wonderful disposition. What do you see the future of policing? And do you ascribe to the notion of we must recruit from our own communities, from our own folks, from our own neighborhoods, to be police officers. Is that critical to having the kind of police force of the future? And what would that look? What does the police force look like in the future?
The police force in the future is diverse, right? And so we need to, right now we're so ironically, we're asking to have the police department be more representative of the communities they serve. It's all under the guise of what? Diversity, right? It's all under the guise of diversity, right? So what's the future look like? The future in our society it's about diversity. It's about us, sort of like buying into what makes us different and the beauty of that, right? And so the police departments are evolving in that way, right? Police departments are becoming much more diverse, and I think that that's going to continue. Does that mean that they have to be an urban police department has to have people from within the community, and most of them will be Black and brown or people from the urban community? What does that mean? I don't know. I'll tell you what, though. Some of the best cops we have are not from New Haven. Some of the best
Hold
cops.
on
Hi,
one
this is
second.
Babz Rawls-Ivy from New Haven, Connecticut, and you're listening to WNHHLP 103.5 FM, streaming live at newhavenindependent.org.
We've got FCC housekeeping.
Nice. Yeah. So I was saying, like, we have some great cops that are like committed to our community that are not from New Haven. Some of them are not even from the hood. Some of them are not from an urban environment. Some of them are from suburbs. And so what I would say is that I think that we have to promote diversity of culture, diversity of experiences. We want cops that get it. I could tell you some cops that have come from New Haven that have not been good for the community. Let's be straight up, because it's not about where you come from, right? But what we're looking for is cops that can relate, that respect our community, that are bought into, nurturing and developing our community. And I think the argument that there's a greater likelihood that that'll happen if you look like us, yeah, or if you're part of our community, yes, that makes sense.
Well, let me give you a little pushback, because you certainly understand historically that folks of color have been shut out of these opportunities for eons, and so and one of the ways to remedy that is to begin to look and open the doors to communities that have not had options. You understand that? I mean, you understand when people say, we need cops from New Haven because they go to New Haven,
and I agree with them. Of course I do. Of course. You were going to make a point with that, or is that you were just? No,
I just wanted to make sure
I understand
that was said, because
no,
because I hear the community talk about this a lot. I mean, I think I'm more in line with the way that you think anyway, in terms of I'd rather have people who care about this job, care about humanity, and is going to do a good job, not necessarily somebody from New Haven because they're from New Haven.
Right. Yeah,
I would drive the force.
No, agreed. I would say to you that I think we have to have multiple, so you have a lot of irons in the fire, right? So our sole focus can't be, so while we're working on developing our mechanisms to get more people from our communities into the policing profession, into the criminal justice, not just policing, into criminal justice, throughout criminal justice, right? We want to see more attorneys, lawyers. We want to see more prosecutors. I mean, that's what we want to see, right? Not just police officers, but yes, police officers. But what I'm saying is that the reality is that we are a diverse population. Not everybody's going to come. I think simultaneously, what we need to do is change the culture of policing. That it's not just about having people more Black and brown in the police departments. Yes. Our department is nearly 50% minority. The New Haven Police Department is nearly 50% minority. So we've come a long way. And actually, we got hurt in the last couple of years through contractual stuff. A lot of our people left, and most of the officers that left, or a lion's share of the officers that left, were actually officers of color, because other departments are recruiting officers of color, right? And we're I think we're so we have to look at the glass half full. We're doing great in that. However, there's other goals that we have, right? We're looking to change the culture of policing, and that's not solely just putting people from or within our communities. We're going to get officers from other places. We have to change their mindset too.
So talk to me a little bit, Chief, about how do other departments get to steal our trained law enforcement? Like how do they get to walk in and take our folks, our finely trained folks for their own? What are they offering? More money, better benefits? Like,
well, listen.
Because we keep hearing about this a lot, and it's problematic.
It's tough. I'll tell you why. Because yes, you come to New Haven, the demand is more, right? You're going to work harder for your money, and these towns, they're able to pay more, right? We're an urban city, a municipality. We offer a lot of services. So, our pockets aren't as deep. And so we can't pay our cops as much, right? And so what we sell is the experience, right? We tell officers, hey, listen, you want to be a cop in a small town and go to small town type issues, then that's why you became a cop, then have at it. If you became a cop to make a difference, and nothing against the small towns, but you're going to go to many more calls, you're going to come to a lot more people, you're dealing with a lot more, right? And so this is where you want to come. It's more opportunity, more chances to get involved in different things, more upward mobility, just by sure. So that's what we sell. But it's hard because ultimately it's economics sometimes. People have to, so if you can go to another town and make $10,000, $15,000 more to do relatively less, right? And have more time off, more balance. Sometimes that's a hard thing to combat as a police department. We're competing against that, right? And then the other thing is last year, just think about this a second. Just put yourself in the position of being an officer. Last year was tough. And again, don't think about it from the perspective of Babz, Rawls, and Tony Reyes, who've been around the block, and we get the right. I'm talking about 25-year-old cop who signed up, right, and wore that badge, and Armageddon happened, and they're in the middle of Armageddon, and so listen, many of them were courageous and hung on, and many of them went, I gotta go because I could go make some more money over here, and I don't have to deal with this, right? So those are the challenges right now, but I think we're going to overcome that because we got a lot of people that are inspired by what happened and want to be part of it. Got a lot of people that stuck around, got a lot of people that are attracted to it because they feel this is a critical moment in policing and they want to be part of it. So, but it's tough. And then just like other departments, just like we're facing financial times, other departments they don't have the ability to put academies through. It's a lot easier for them to get a fully trained cop. And so those recruitment and retention issues are being felt. It's the number one issue in every police department across the country.
So what's the dream? What is the dream job or the dream experience? Or like, I mean, do you want to go run MI6? Do you want to do you want to go to London? Do you want to run a bigger city? Do you want to what's the Reyes dream?
You know what the Reyes dream is right now is to be the best dad I can be. My son is 12 years old.
You have one child?
One son. I have one son and an amazing wife. And I want to be, I want to be more of a full-time dad. Admittedly, I've been more of a part-time dad.
Well, because 12 is that age, right? Like that's that pivotal age where influences become greater than your influence, right? So,
and so, so my dream, he's part of my dream. And so if right now I need to sort of take a hiatus and be dad, spend some time with him during these critical years and then and stay involved and then rethink about, like I said, I'm only 49, relatively speaking, and then think about what my impact needs to be in the profession moving forward. But right now, my number one dream is to be dad.
Are you writing a book?
I haven't thought about that. You see, you're funny because Paul asked me the same thing, and you guys think like that. I'm not a writer, and so
Oh,
I'm
no,
not,
no, no. You're a writer. Everybody's a
I'm not a
writer.
writer. But we are, but like we're not. We're not geared that way. So I would love to someday. I certainly think that I have some things I can contribute, some thought-provoking perspectives, and I would love to share them.
Gift you a journal. I'm gonna gift you a blank journal,
Okay.
and then you start writing in that journal when
Yes.
and that's how you begin to be a writer. You start writing
I love it.
and capture whatever you want, and
I
then
love it. I
and then
love
a
it.
book will come out of this. So it's
I
been a
think
pleasure talking to you.
it's been my pleasure, Babz. I really appreciate you. And it's, I just appreciate you as a person because you put these, you put these opportunities for people to stop a second and really just talk. And I appreciate that. And I just want to say, I think the last message that I would want to leave is thank you. Thank you to everybody that has been a part of my career. And again, I'm not saying goodbye because I'm around, but I think when you talk about reflecting and looking back as you sort of sail, into the sunset in my career here in terms of being a chief in New Haven, I am overwhelmed with appreciation to every single person I had a chance to work with, every person I ever got a chance to partner with in law enforcement, in the community. That's what's humbling. And so I am overwhelmed with gratitude. And so I just wanted to say thank you to everyone and I look forward to the future.
I wish I can't wait till we can all gather because I'm sure this would have been a banging party.
Yeah.
This would have been a good party to go
Yeah.
to send you off to Quinnipiac. But you're just down the road, and I do believe that you will be around for access and leadership to some of the folks on the force. I don't think we'll lose you totally. I
No,
think
you're not at all. And,
you'll be around.
another thing that feels good, and you should feel good about, you got some great people within our department and the leadership is sound there. And you got some very committed people. Please support them. Please support them. They have great hearts. They're incredibly dedicated, and they have a challenge in their hands. But I think we're very fortunate. It's sound. The future is sound. People that are really committed to our city. So partner with them, support them. I'm certainly going to be doing that. And let's. I think the future is bright. I think the future is bright for New Haven. We weathered a very difficult time, and guess what? The relationships are there. We got to build on that. And as soon as the dust settles with this COVID stuff and we're able to get together, I think we need to start really celebrating that, and we need to celebrate the positives of our city and build on that. And I think that should be our focus. I definitely want to be a part of that.
Thank you, Chief.
My
God
pleasure.
bless.
God bless you. Be well.
And I look forward to talking to you in your new job.
Yes, yes, absolutely. We'll be in touch. Take care.
So, take care. Say hi to your wife and be safe out there.
I will. Be well.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you.